Hello guys, it is me again, it's HorrorFan34, and welcome back to another video. Had to clear my throat there for a second. I figured I'd do another review because in a few hours, me, Alex, Rob, and Dan will be doing a brand new live stream for you guys on Alex's channel, which is going to be the MCU Phase 2. Because we did Phase 1 for the MCU. Now we're going to do Phase 2, so that'll be in a few hours, so stay tuned for that. But anyways, I wanted to do another review. I've been meaning to watch a couple of films that I really do enjoy. I've always enjoyed these movies, and I figured I wanted to rewatch them again, like I did Judgment Night and Survive the Night. Those two reviews are up already, and both of them are from '93. And I figured I'd review another film from '93 that I also happen to really do enjoy. '93 really had a lot of really good movies. A lot of really great popular ones and a lot of really great underrated ones that not many people know about. I think this one is one of the more in that category of underrated movies. I don't think many people even talk about this film. And I think it deserves a lot more attention. And I do have the DVD, but it was a pain in the butt to get out of the closet because, you know, it's one of those things, the DVD was like all the way in the back and you have to pull out all these DVDs to get to it, and of course when you're trying to pull out DVDs, that's a really bad time for you to have your fingernails cut, because, you know, when you trim your fingernails and you don't have long fingernails, it's not easy to pull stuff out. So that's like I don't have long fingernails, so, you know, bad time to cut your fingernails to get the DVD, to try to pull the DVDs out. But I do have the film on DVD. But but you can just tell by the title what the review is going to be on, and that is going to be on Falling Down. Now, if you don't know what Falling Down is, it's a movie from '93, directed by Joel Schumacher, and it stars Michael Douglas and Robert Duvall. Now, I think, in my opinion, this is my personal favorite film directed by Joel Schumacher, because going into the director of Joel Schumacher, I think he is a very solid director when you look at his filmography. I mean, Joel Schumacher, yeah, you know, Batman and Robin, you know, people, like, that's like the thing, whenever people think of Joel Schumacher, they can never get Batman and Robin out of their mind. But when you look past Batman and Robin, look at all the films that Joel Schumacher has done. He's done a lot of really solid films. DC Cab, that's a really fun comedy with Gary Busey and Mr. T. That's a really fun movie. And he also has directed Flatliners, which is a good one. The Lost Boys, that's another good one. That's my favorite vampire film. Batman Forever, I have a lot of fun with. This film is great. 8mm, that's another good one with Nick Cage. And, you know, granted, Trespass with him and Nicole Kidman wasn't that good either, but Joel Schumacher as a director, I do enjoy. You know, Lost Boys, DC Cab, Falling Down, 8mm, Flatliners. I think he's done a lot of really solid films, and I think this is my favorite film that he's directed. I mean, Falling Down is a really great drama, like thriller/drama, where you have Michael Douglas' character as William Defense Foster. He's basically an unemployed defense worker who one day is snapped, and he's like lashing out at society and looking at society's flaws, and he's basically lashing out at society and causing chaos across the city. At the same time, you have Robert Duvall as a cop who's he's working on his last day before he retires, and he's following the case, and he's trying to stop Michael Douglas and things like that. And that's pretty much what the entire premise of the film is about. Now, going into this film is very underrated. First off, Michael Douglas as the lead. Michael Douglas in this film is absolutely fantastic. Michael Douglas gives it his all. And from what I read somewhere, this is Michael Douglas' favorite movie he's ever worked on. So I think that's pretty cool. You know, hey, Michael Douglas, this is his favorite film he's worked on. The DVD is a deluxe edition DVD, but sadly, though, it's not much for features, sadly. Granted, you know, there is a commentary with Michael Douglas, Joel Schumacher, and some other people on there, so, you know, that's cool. There's an interview with Michael Douglas on there, so that's cool. But, you know, maybe I would like to see a documentary, maybe with interviews with Joel Schumacher and Robert Duvall, Michael Douglas, Barbara Hershey, who plays the ex-wife of Michael Douglas in the movie. You can interview some of the other supporting actors in the film as well, some of the producers, some of the writers. It'd be cool to see like a documentary back in maybe like nowadays. But Michael Douglas does a great job as the lead, and you know, it's one of those films too you don't really want to say too much about what Michael Douglas is doing exactly. But I'll give you a couple scenarios of how he lashes out at society. Basically, there's a point where the very first scene that you see Michael Douglas, you know, he's sitting in traffic and it's really hot out, and then he abandons his car, goes to this convenience store, tries to ask for change. The guy basically said, "You can't, no change. You got to buy something first." So he buys a can of soda, and the guy says, "You know, it's 85 cents for the can of soda." And he's like, 85 cents doesn't give me enough money for the phone call. And then, he lashes out, like, basically how all these prices in the store are outrageous. And he's like, he takes, like, a baseball bat and starts, like, messing the store up. And he's like, for example, he's like, the donuts, how much? The guy goes $1.12, and he smacks the donuts, and he smacks them, and he's like, too much. Michael Douglas is fantastic, like I said, in this movie. He does a great job in this movie. It's without a doubt my favorite Michael Douglas film. It's my favorite performance of his. There's another point where he, after the convenience store, there's a point where he's sitting on like a little wall, and it's like in a gang territory, and you see these two guys who are part of a gang, saying like, what are you doing here? Things like that. And they, excuse me, I'm still getting over allergies. But then he's like saying, they're saying like, you see that graffiti right there, and he says, well, if you wrote it in goddamn English, I would have understood it. Michael Douglas just roasting these guys and just telling them off. It's pretty entertaining to watch. And the gang guys are getting mad, and he says, we want your briefcase, and then he's like, I'm not giving you my briefcase. He's like, you hear us? Give us your briefcase. And they put a knife to him, like a little pocket knife, and he says, you want my briefcase? I'll give it to you. And then, like, behind the briefcase, there's the baseball bat that he used in the store. He's like, you want a briefcase? Here's my briefcase! And he starts smacking the gang guys, and they run away all scared. And then, at that point, also, a little bit later in the movie, those two same guys and a couple of other people who are in a car, they see Michael Douglas at a payphone, and they try to like do a drive-by shooting and try to shoot and kill him, but it doesn't work. They don't affect him. They end up missing him, and then they get in a car wreck and they die. So Michael Douglas pretty much comes out unharmed. There's another point too where my favorite scene in the movie is when Michael Douglas goes to the Whammy Burger, which is like kind of like a Burger King, like a McDonald's kind of like place, like a fast food restaurant. And he tries to order breakfast, but they stop serving breakfast at at a certain time. In a way, it's kind of like a more serious version of Big Daddy. Kind of in a way, he looks at his watch, and it's like, because I think they stop. It's kind of like they stop serving breakfast. Like in Big Daddy, they stop serving breakfast at like at 10:30 or something like that, and then he looks at his watch, and it's like 4 minutes past like 11:30 when they stop serving breakfast, and that's when he pulls the gun and he says like, then he goes on a rant about how when he decides to order lunch instead, how the burger that he gets looks nothing like the picture on the order menu, and he rants about that, things like that. There's a lot of other great scenes in the film too that I don't want to give too much away. I'll give one more away. It's a pretty funny one, where Michael Douglas is in another payphone, and in the payphone, like he can't get a call on it, so then he leaves the payphone, and there's some jerk off guy saying, "Hey, I don't know about you, but there are other people here waiting to use the payphone." And he's like, "Really? Who?" He's like, and I think there's everybody else around here who's wants to use the payphone, and they certainly don't respect you taking it up. And then Michael Douglas goes, "You know what I think about that?" And the guy goes, "What?" And then he takes out an Uzi and shoots up the payphone, and he like breaks the payphone. He says, I think it's out of order. And he walks away nonchalantly, and the guy kind of looks like, has that face like, maybe I shouldn't have messed with that guy. But that's all I'm going to say about the scenes in the movie. I'm not going to say anything else more about what Michael Douglas is doing. That's just a couple of examples. You know, but that's what I'm saying. Michael Douglas is really the standout of the movie. You know, Robert Duvall does a great job as well as the cop, and Barbara Hershey does a great job as well as Michael Douglas's ex-wife in the movie. But like I said in this, I've been wording my review, I think Michael Douglas steals the show. That's why I keep mentioning Michael Douglas's scenes, because he is he steals the show. He's great, and I think it's directed very well by Joel Schumacher. You know, I don't want to say too much more about this movie. I don't want to spoil too much more about it, but I'm going to save that for you guys to watch for yourself. So I'm going to leave it at that. So anyways, thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Alright guys, take care.